Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Monday, March 18th. This is day 164 since October 7th. We just got news today from Catholic Relief Services and they are one of Churches for Middle East Peace's longtime partners, that a partner they've worked with for many years, Mohammed Rifi, who's a photographer, was killed in Gaza City while he was waiting with civilians who were waiting for food to arrive. Their message was posted today on Instagram, and they said, "We're devastated. Rifi was more than a photographer. He was a kind and gentle soul that everyone loved. Through his lens, he bestowed upon us a world of beauty. He captured those we serve, our team, and our work at their best." Rifi was a part of the Catholic Relief Services family, and in the wake of loss, we grieve not only for Rifi, but also for the 30,000 plus other Gazans who've been killed. Let us honor the memory of Mohammed Rifi, the beacon of compassion, through the poignant lens of his photographs. And in the post, you can scroll through and see just some of the stunning photographs that he'd taken. I'd encourage you to go to Catholic Relief Services on social media. They do incredible work in Gaza, and you can see some of Mohammed Rifi's pictures and learn more about Catholic Relief Services and their work. In the incident where Rifi was killed, more than 70 others were also killed. It's one of the many incidents where people were waiting for food and they were killed just for being there. And how many more have to be slaughtered before the United States and the world just says, enough is enough? You know, I long for a world the way that Catholic Relief Services described it, or the way that they described his photographs, where they said that his photographs capture a world of beauty. And I long for restoration of a world of beauty and a world of peace instead of a world of violence and destruction and death. So may we pray and work to that end. And in the meantime, I wanted to give you some updates of what's happened over the last few days. Overnight, there was a raid on Al-Shifa Hospital. More than 80 people were arrested. The Israeli Defense Forces said that there was concrete evidence that showed that Hamas terrorists were using the hospital as a command center. Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, reported that the IDF evacuated men, women, and children from the hospital and the surrounding environment. They released a recorded conversation that reportedly was between the IDF and the Director General of the Hamas-controlled health ministry, Dr. Youssef Abu Rish, who agreed that hospitals need to be places for providing services. Israeli authorities denied permission for the head of UNRWA to enter Gaza. UNRWA and Egypt's foreign minister said this is unprecedented. Across Gaza, the report by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification said the number of people facing catastrophic hunger has risen to 1.1 million. That's about half of the population of Gaza. The UN Secretary General Guterres said this is the highest number of people facing catastrophic hunger ever recorded by the initiative in the decades of its operations, anywhere, anytime. The EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said that Israel is provoking famine in Gaza and it is using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel's foreign minister said it allows extensive humanitarian aid into Gaza. So obviously he is rejecting the EU foreign minister's claim. And he added that it's time for the EU foreign minister Borrell to stop attacking Israel and to recognize the right to self-defense against Hamas's crimes. Al Jazeera claimed that the IDF arrested one of its journalists in Gaza and demanded his immediate release. And the health ministry in Gaza said the death toll is now 31,726 Palestinians killed, 73,792 wounded. In terms of the hostages conversation, the Mossad director Barnea landed in Qatar for another round of talks. They're saying these talks are going to be direct with Yahya Sinwar, which means that they will have to be, obviously, like he won't directly be in Qatar. They'll say they're going to take longer because of that, at least taking 2 weeks. It's believed he's currently in the tunnels under Gaza. So the framework for this deal is a 42-day ceasefire in exchange for 40 hostages. So it'll be a couple of weeks before we have more news about that. Captain Daniel Perez, an IDF soldier, 22 years old, was thought to have been kidnapped on October 7th. It was announced that, in fact, he was killed on October 7th, and his body was taken captive into Gaza. Families of American hostages held in Gaza released a statement calling on the Biden administration to keep pushing all parties to strike a deal that brings every single hostage home. They demanded that the international community put pressure on Hamas to lay down their arms and return family members to them now. Netanyahu and Biden spoke on the phone for the first time in over a month. They discussed the latest developments in Israel and Gaza, including the situation in Rafah and efforts to surge humanitarian assistance. Netanyahu's office did not publish a readout as it normally does. Netanyahu told an AIPAC delegation that claims in America, he's isolated and beholden to far-right extremists in his coalition, that those are deliberate lies. And in Israel, far-right National Security Minister Ben-Gvir said that 100,000 civilian gun permits have handed out since the beginning of October. In the West Bank, following the lead of the U.S., who already imposed sanctions on a few extreme right-wing settlers, the EU Foreign Policy Chief Borrell said he's confident the EU will agree on Monday to impose sanctions on both Hamas and violent Israeli West Bank settlers. In the U.S., many are rallying around Senator Chuck Schumer in response to his remarks criticizing Netanyahu, saying that he is putting Israel at risk, including his senior rabbi at Congregation Beth Elohim. Rabbi Timoners said of his remarks that what he said is what most of us think. There's been real fear in the American Jewish community of criticizing Israel. He did something so great in breaking that silence. Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, one of the key pro-Israel voices in the House, told CNN that the fact that Israel's most staunch defender in U.S. Congress should be making these remarks should be an earthquake to Israel. And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Schumer's speech was an act of courage and an act of love to Israel. So it looks like there is not a quick end by any means to the current realities in Gaza. It looks like there's not an end in sight, and every day that goes on is, horrific news for men and women and children, particularly in North Gaza, who have the most severe starvation, but throughout Gaza, where people are so in desperate need for food, where bombing continues, where the ground invasion continues, also for those who continue to be held hostage, which means our work is more important than ever. So please continue to pray, continue to call your members of Congress. If you need help on how to do that, there's resources on our website at Churches for Middle East Peace, where you can reach out to us about ways you can engage or advocate for a comprehensive ceasefire, and as we seek to bring an end to the current catastrophe, and also as we prepare our hearts and minds for Holy Week.